Hello babies, I have now arrived in Taxion. It's beautiful. Today let's experience from the driver's perspective how the new G63 is different. In today's video, we definitely have a kind of video because there are many differences that you won't notice unless you're the owner. So let's first talk about the appearance. If you aren't the owner, you might think it looks exactly the same as the previous G model because for many years, the G has always been. The P-type frame's rectangular body style has never changed. So its appearance, size and shape haven't changed at all. But there's a small detail right here. You see my G63 in this position and this position are very similar, with slight differences, very similar. But now, the new G63 directly changes the intake on this side of the front bumper into this large. It indeed looks more handsome, especially when compared with its hammer-style grille. So how to differentiate between the G500 and G63? It's even simpler. Look at this car, it doesn't have one. This is an electric G, but its front grille is the G500's grille, which looks like this while the G63 looks like this. The characteristic of AMG is the hammer style. So next time when identifying an AMG, now, not only this way, but all AMGs have this characteristic. There are just these changes in the front, and there's a subtle detail that will impress anyone right here. See, there's a small component change for aerodynamics. It's this tiny change that makes this car, the noise blowing in has been noticeably improved because I felt it while driving. Additionally, there's an even more precise detail right here. Did you notice he added an air vent? Do you know what it's for, babes? This must be combined with a critique of my G-Class because everyone knows the G-Class has a characteristic like this. The sound of the door closing. And the Yaha Satu Samachai. Very cool. This is the impressive part about the big G. However, its door requires a lot of force to close. You really need to slam it hard to shut the door on my G. But now this one, this is a pressure release vent. It releases the pressure inside the car, making it easier for you to close the door. It still retains the door closing style, but you don't need to use as much force. You just need to... Nice, what do you think is the exterior change finish now? This video might be a bit long. Continuing on, now this is the whole atmosphere here. It still uses the V8 engine, but it has added an electric motor. So listen to the sound of the air conditioning. I didn't bring a mic, so the sound quality might not be great. Also, feel the exhaust roar when we switch to Sport Plus mode. I'll place this microphone, this phone, near the exhaust. I don't know how the effects will be, but it's very cool, right? My car, that easy to produce the sound of backfire. So even though it adds this motor, the sound wave effect is actually better. However, I also noticed that when you roll up the car window, the sound inside the car feels quieter than my G. To put it simply, its soundproofing is indeed better. I don't know if everyone thinks its soundproofing being better is good or bad, but its roar is absolutely thrilling. Additionally, there's another huge change, which is here. As you see, mine doesn't have these buttons. The 1, 2, 3 mechanical sockets are something every G-Class has, but now it has added an off-road component. When you press it, look, it will display the entire off-road function, including our active suspension system. You can see a lot of information. This is our steering angle of the disc. Look, it's 1 degree. Now I'm turning at this 10-degree angle. A lot of information is available. And this here is the button to switch our driving mode. And do you see, because it now uses the new generation MBUG system, you can touch it anywhere now. For example, when we start selecting this S mode, every feeling of our suspension, our engine output, and our AMG state can be adjusted individually. And there's a low range here. After you press this low range, it enters an enhanced off-road mode. So this whole setup is really impressive. But it works in conjunction with this off-road component and our active suspension system. An optional feature, so if you don't want this active suspension system, you won't have it. This is actually the reason why I'm most tempted by the new generation G-Wagon. But since it's an option, it might not be as enticing because you have to spend extra money. And there is a huge change because AMG has collaborated with IWC. So my previous car had a BR. But now you see they have placed the dial here. Gave you an electronic IWC. What do you think about this? Now this display is particularly cool. You can see our entire vehicle's parameters. You can feel the entire experience of our suspension while driving. And you can also see the angles of your throttle and brake openings. The engine parameters are more dimensional, and the display of these functions is indeed much better than those of the previous generation, like my G63. It added a custom salary reduction, which in English means that now for the big G, besides the cost of additional options, you can pay more to have your name written in this spot, for example writing 11 here. Of course, this is an extra charge, essentially taking the G a step further into luxury. As for the rest, there are basically no changes. So after watching, do you think our G63 should be switched to this new G63?